All right. Is everybody able to see the screen on the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. While I have nobody in Clubhouse right now, I am sure a few of the regular members like Kinjal and Mir would definitely join in Clubhouse in a couple of minutes. All right. So the book of the week, Deep Work. That's what we discussed today. Now, first of all, who is this book for? So anybody, who's looking to increase the productivity, especially knowledge workers, people who have a lot of smart work to do. That's what the book is directed and focused on. People who want to get more done in less time. That's the second one. And for the ones who are in the science of multitasking, attention, and productivity. This last part is going to be really fun as we progress. So anybody who believes in multitasking or right now is in the situation of doing a lot of tasks at hand, struggling with time and all that. So that's what we be discussing in this book today. I would like to start with the quote, by the author himself, Cal Newport. And this is the last line of the book. And he says, this is how he ends the book. He says, one of the most valuable skill right now in the economy, which is becoming increasingly rare. And if you master the skill, you will achieve extraordinary results. And he's focusing and he's talking about the core idea of the book, which is deep work. Now, before we get going, let's see what are the few things that has been spoken about this book so far. The New York Best Time talks about it, and as quoted the way it is, as a presence on the page, Newport is exceptional in the realm of self-help authors. Wall Street Journal says deep work accomplishes two considerable tasks. One is putting out a wealth of concrete practices for the ambitious without relying on gauzy cliches. The second is that Mr. Newport resists the corporate groupthink of constant connectivity without seeming like a curmudgeon. The Economist says deep work is the killer app of the knowledge economy. It is only by the concentrating intensely that you can master a difficult discipline or solve a demanding problem. This is deep, not shallow book, which can enrich your life, the Globe and the Mail. And 800 CEO Reed talks about it as a wonderfully entangled, intertwined, and united series of strategies, philosophies, discipline, and techniques to sharpen your focus and deep dive in your work. This is taken from Cal Newport's website itself. What is this idea? What is this deep work all about? So when you look at deep work, it's a popular concept, and it became popular actually after 2016 when the book was published. It initiated by a lot of startups and a lot of entrepreneurs who wanted to, understand this idea of how to be focused, how to create, the best of the work in the shortest possible time. However, it is not just limited to entrepreneurs. Over a period of time, leadership, leaders across the industry, middle management teams started focusing on, these activities. And there has been a tremendous, and there has been a lot of case studies, which has time and again proven the impact of this book. What is the meaning? Professional activities performed in the state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to the limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and it's hard to replicate. I'm quoting it exactly the way it is from the book. Now, when Carl talks about this book, when he's talking about deep work per se, he also discusses shallow work. Now, what is shallow work? Basically, a task that we can do by focusing our attention here and there. For example, while listening to music, or while doing one task, I'm doing another one, while looking at emails, I'm in a conversation with somebody. So these are tasks which not really add a lot of value as such, but can be managed, and it is necessary for survival. So that's what the difference, and that's what he's discussing throughout the book in terms of the shallow work, the deep work concepts. Now, in this book, Carl is focusing on the effect of deep work in transforming the work ethics and adoption of the 4 rules of inculcating the change. So the book is actually divided into 2 parts now. It's focused on the science of productivity, the best way to get more meaningful work done by working deeply in a high concentration with absolutely no distraction and working on single tasks single-handedly. So when we talk about this book, the first part of the book explains why this helps. So, what is deep work, how to maximize your productivity, and why only people are able to practice it. The second part, however, focuses on actually how do you practice it. And if you see why I'm such a big fan of this book today, of the many books that I've read on productivity, on time management, on task management, I think this is one of the only books and the rarest of book which focuses on both the elements in single concept. There are a lot of books which talks about what should you do, what should you do, what should you do, and why should you do it. This book focuses on how do you do it. How do you implement those small things, and it's kept it very simple. To be honest, the language is easy to understand. The concepts are not too shallow, and the best part is it's got, it's covered everybody, for every kind of personality, you can say it, for the kind of work you have, for the kind of lifestyle you have. He would have something for you in this book. And the idea is, again, he says deep work is an area which is becoming increasingly rare, and is becoming increasingly valuable as well. I'd just like to spend about a few less than a minute here today, and this is, I've taken it from the hyper focus. So while I was reading this book, I was also looking at the hyper focus, which is going to be coming up soon. In hyper focus, the research conducted shows that the attention span for us, the focus span for us, has now reduced to as low as 7 to 9 seconds. And especially when you have your digital, media around you, the phones, laptops, computers, gadgets, everything. And we have become so accustomed unknowingly that we're constantly going back to, checking our notifications and all that. So more than the task itself, or more than going on Facebook, it is the notification which is keeping us distracted. And throughout the book, Carl is focusing on how do you get rid of that kind of, approach, and how do you focus on increasing your productivity. As I said earlier, it's a book which is for all, and the different approaches used in this book will help you understand which one suits you and how do you implement them. Throughout the book, he shares interesting stories and engaging stories, which explains the concept of deep work. One of the few one that I liked is a guy in the social media, pioneer in social media, who actually purchased a round-trip air ticket in business class. And the only purpose was to write his book free of distractions. He talks about the famous author, J.K. Rowling. When she was trying to write a book again for I think the third book, when she was publishing it, because of too much of distraction at home, she started at a 5-star hotel. She booked it only for one day, but she accomplished so much in that particular day that she kept going back and she finished that book. It also talks about Carl Jung, who actually created a stone house, in middle of a forest, and he went there, focused, locked himself inside. Nobody else was allowed, and he could dare, increase his concentration power and mental focus. Various stories, amazing way he's described it. I'm sure you would love it as much as I did. And then constantly compares the deep work, the shallow work, where he focuses on how do you create a distraction-free environment, high concentration work that will help you improve your skills and create a lot of value in less time. Why is it important? Let's say if you're a knowledge worker. Now, most of us today are people who are working on systems. You may be into business analytics, you may be into operations, you may be into middle management, or you may be working into social media marketing, where you're paid price for the value you add through your skill sets and knowledge. And this book is primarily important for all these people, where it will help you understand how do you add significant value. I think somebody's raised a hand here. Yes, Bharat, you want to say something?
So Bharat has messaged that not able to hear. Bharat, I'm able to hear Praddeep.
Okay. Anybody else facing that issue? Bharat, please log back in. Some issues, I guess. Okay, fair. Sorry, I'll continue here. Now, because our work demands us to, work in terms of productivity, from our skills, from our knowledge. The idea is to enhance our intellectual capacity, to nurture our minds on strategies, solution that can create a phenomenal effect. And I'll give you a very simple example. A lot of times we are under tremendous pressure and we are unable to think very creatively. We're unable to find solutions. And sometimes we just close the book, or, whatever we're doing, just shut it down. We just simply go for a walk or maybe go for a shower. Just take a shower, and something that has worked for me. You're taking a shower, or you're just simply lying idle, listening to music, and all of a sudden you get this idea. There you are. And happens with a lot of us. In this book, he talks about how do you do it on a regular basis so that it can create a phenomenal impact. It can create a significant, improvisation in the quality of your life, in the quality of your work you produce, right? From an organization perspective also, it helps the organization to hire remote workers. Like today, if you see the whole COVID situation, throughout the year 2020 and most of the year of 2021, we've been working from home, working remotely. And to a large extent, a lot of organizations use this time to micromanage things. And that's where you see a lot of attrition happening now. So there was a time when organizations were removing people, for under various reasons. But today, if you see, there is a big chunk of frustrated employees who are leaving the organization in spite of getting a better hike or some more money or some rewards, etc., because they are so frustrated, unable to think, unable to process. They simply work like machines as of now. So organization would definitely get an upper edge where they can have people like this working for them and create this substantial result that is required. So it's moving away from the quantity work and focus on the quality production. That's why this is important. Now, looking at the key takeaway from the book. So of the 4 principles, let's look at the first one, the practicing deep work. So in practicing deep work, he's talking about a concept where you take up a task, and this task could be, like as we discussed in our previous Eat That Frog, the mammoth of the task, or the most important or the most valuable task, again from the 80-20 principle. So something that will fetch you 80% result. Now for that, what is the time you delegate? And again, there is no constraint in this. While we have heard books earlier, while we have spoken about different timings, he focuses in terms of your energy areas, like which is the best time that you can get away from all the distractions, get away from all the phone calls. For most of them, it could be early mornings or it could be the late nights. There is absolutely no constraint on doing that. What he talks about is practicing deep work, where the key points to consider are focus on highly productive activities and eliminate non-value add tasks from your daily schedule of the jobs. Either eliminate them or give it to somebody, or put it for a later time when you would not be really practicing deep work. You'll have to figure out, as I said, the 80-20 principle. You have to look at what are the most important tasks that you have to look at. Segregate the deep work and the shallow work differently. Focus more on deep work to enrich your mind's innovative power and strength. And again, as we progress, also, I'll keep saying this. Carl talks about the maximum time anybody can be productive. When you can work in deep work is maximum 4 hours. And you will never reach the 4 hour in the start itself. It will start small. As a beginner in this, you simply start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you increase it day by day, just like the way we do with meditation. We start off with meditation, and a lot of times people end up like, I want to do meditation for 1 hour today. And that's the first time they're doing it. And all of a sudden, after like about 3 minutes, they're like really frustrated because the mind is throwing all the information and they get boggled down. And then they say meditation is not for me because I'm getting more frustrated. Same way with deep work. He doesn't recommend, start off and jump about like 4 hours at a stretch. Start 10 minutes, increase it the next time, increase it, maybe do it multiple times in a day, where you can fix up slots according to the way you want it. And then devote your extra time, energy, all of that. Devote your time on the deep work. And with the rest of the time, with the extra time, he talks about an amazing concept where he says, what? Instead of focusing on other activities, focus on how you could rest your mind. Maybe pick up something to read, meditate, take a walk, take a shower, whatever suits you. and constantly focus in terms of keeping your mind as cool as you can, and let the brain figure out the solutions and come up with the facts and figures, and let it create miracle for you. Now, as I said earlier, this is one of the books which talks about the what part of it and how the part of it. So when you look at the what part of deep work, this is what it is. How do we do this? Very simple. It talks about the 4 philosophies here. Based on who you are, you can choose one of these philosophy. I'm going to spend just a little time, but I want you to pick up the book or pick up a bigger summary section and focus on which one suits you. The monastic way philosophy is the same one which I spoke about, Carl Jung. You behave like a monk. You close yourself in a chamber, complete closed, no distractions, nothing. You focus on the one task, you do the task, and then only you come out. It's exactly the same way as we had spoken about, when we spoke about Eat That Frog. So you focus on task A, and unless you finish task A, you're not moving to task B. The same thing in this philosophy as well. However, it's like one approach. You get in the room, close yourself, lock yourself down, get something to eat, get something to drink. That's a thing that he says. And then focus on your work. You don't finish it till you come out. The buy model is something where you may not be able to live a monk lifestyle. For example, you probably have other commitments, you have a family to take care of, phone calls, etc. You could probably switch between. For example, in a week, you decide, for example, this Sunday, I'm going to disappear. So nobody knows where exactly I want to do this Sunday. From Sunday morning to evening, 9 to 6, switched off completely. I can do that. Maybe I'll just take an off on Thursday and I can do it. So somewhere in the week, you park your timings or days and you approach that model. The rhythmic is something that you put up in slots. For example, I would do morning about half an hour, 2 hours. Then I'll focus on the shallow works, and then I'll come back again and I will do 3 hours, 4 hours, and then I'll do this. Maybe like, chunk into 1 hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever suits you. And the journalistic approach is very simple. Whenever I have free time, I'll do it. So the last one is something like where you have a schedule for your timer, like a lot of people in the digital marketing has nowadays. So when you look at a social media calendar, so you have your fixed thing. So I know this is going up on Monday, this is going on Tuesday, etc. So whenever you have a free slot, you just put it up there and you go with the flow. The advantage with the journalistic approach is this is the one which requires the least, willpower. Because one of the things that he talks about when he's practicing, how to practice is whenever you want to do the monastic approach or the buy model or the rhythmic also for that matter, you have to struggle with your willpower. Remember, like when Kavita spoke about the 5 a.m. club and how each one of us was excited, like, most of us were excited to get up at 5 a.m. and, conquer that mornings. And then after one day, like, okay, it's not for me. Happened with me. I'm not sure about others. But still, when you look at this approach, all of this require huge willpower. Like if somebody here has either quit drinking or quit smoking or has been working out in the gym, so how important it is to focus and constantly push yourself with no motivation. The journalistic works for one simple reason, that you just simply take up your schedule, and like the way you're working, your brain is now conditioned that level. Okay, between 3 to 4 o'clock, I have to work. And that's where it becomes easier. At least at my level, the journalistic approach is working for me. The monarch may not work for me at this point of time, but with the way I'm going with my book right now, with a little delay, looks like for the last week of September, I'm going to be in a monk mode in case I'm not able to finish the rest of the book as I have planned. A few things to look at here. Arrange your yearly, monthly, weekly calendar to invest your time and effort, right? You will have to focus and plan your schedules. If you are a working professional, I would personally recommend start off with the journalistic approach. Pick up your calendar, somewhere schedule it, etc., so that your brain is in that flow and you are able to just simply take it up and do it. Inform your people close to your working professional that for this next 45 minutes, 40 minutes, I won't be available. Please bear with me and all that stuff. Bhavesh, you raised your hand. Any questions? Any difficulties here?
Well, I also wanted to understand the journalistic philosophy once again. I
Sure.
believe Purvi has raised it,
Yes,
and
yes,
I also want to understand it
yes,
again.
I just saw that. Fair.
Thank you.
So journalist approach, simple. like most of us have a schedule. Let's say I'm into training. So I have a training calendar. So in the training calendar, I would have this element. In the training calendar, I would have this element that I know 10 to 11 o'clock, I have a scheduled session. Then I have my next block, next block, next block. So I have this block. Now what happens is every morning when I look at my training calendar, I don't have to spend a lot of willpower on getting ready for the session. And this happens with all of us. Now think of this. Whenever we travel, when we plan a travel, if you are somebody who's a very organized person, you will have a list of things that you would write on a piece of paper. I need the toothbrush, I need, the soap, I need tent, I need this, repellent, all of that stuff by stuff. So while you're packing your bag, you are at ease, at calm. And if you're somebody who's not organized when it comes to planning a trip, you would always have this last minute things. Even before you're leaving your house, you're still sitting and wondering, kuch chhuta to nahi? Have I missed anything? Have I done this? Okay. And sometimes at the airport or maybe at the railway station or at the bus stand, you remember, oh shit, I forgot that. I had to take that up. And then you rush to the nearest shop, stationery shop, medical shop, and then you end up buying. Same thing happens with the work as well. A lot of times we have this, like nowadays you have this Google Calendar Meet. So, nowadays most of the things are virtual, meetings are virtual, etc. So we send calendar invite. Why is the calendar invite? So that I don't have to push my brain. And the notification comes up 30 minutes on my phone before 30 minutes and it says, okay, you have a meeting in 30 minutes. Now my brain is conditioned to attend the meeting. Sometimes all of a sudden a boss calls up and says, you know what, get on this call right now. And how lost we are for the first few minutes. So the same way, when you look at the journalistic approach, pick up the calendar, whichever calendar you have, maybe Google Meet, or if you're using the Microsoft calendar or if your office calendar, whatever. And if you have divided your chunk of work, and especially with the social media team, they do that. So I have to post one article at 10 a.m. I have to post this article at 12 a.m., 12 p.m. This goes on tomorrow, this, all of that. What you do is you pick up your high value task and you fit it up there in advance. So your brain is now getting tuned to that. So your willpower is not wasted. I'll give you another example of this one. Is there anybody in this group who has said, I'll wake up 5 o'clock tomorrow morning and I'll go for jogging? And that has never happened? Anybody here? Just raise your hand and just acknowledge it. Okay, 2 at least.
Virtual one.
Now what happens is, if you look at routine work, for example, something's coming up and it's on your schedule. For example, that this Saturday you have to go for a lunch meeting or something like that, and you put it up in the calendar. Do you have to remember it, or do you feel like I'm not going, etc.? Or does it happen by default? Like, okay, you got ready and you went. The second one's much easier, isn't it? It just goes with the flow. Schedule banaya, it goes with the flow. And that's why the journalistic philosophy focuses and emphasizes on. Pick up your deep work, put it in the slot throughout the day anywhere, and just inform people that this 45 minutes I will not be available. And tell them what you're doing. If it's an official work, tell them what you're really doing. Maybe it will help your manager or somebody else, etc. And that's how you organize it. Hope that explains. Purvi, Bhavesh, and everybody else. Shreya, you raised your hand. Any questions?
So Praddeep, is it like preparing your mind like for the bigger goal, and so that you don't have to prepare your mind every time you want to sit for the thing?
Yes,
something like that.
Totally.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So that's how this works. This is the core, when we talk about the deep work, this is the core idea that he emphasizes on. Now, picking up whatever, for example, like each one of us here is a working professional, either into business or into, employed somewhere. Pick up what suits you and just apply it and go for it. Practice it. If it doesn't work, try the next model. There is no harm in that. Now, the next one is, now there are two areas again. So one is focusing and working on team. And as I picked up, like most of us need to work with others. So I'm picking up this area where you are collaborating with team, where sometimes when you're thinking solo, you can have a lot of ideas. However, you can also have a lot of roadblocks. So when you collaborate with somebody, for example, if there is a deep work, if you have a team working, if you have a 5-member team that is working, a deep work with a team can produce tremendous results. However, this requires you to be disciplined on the project and no deviations from the topic whatsoever. Because alone you could have a lot of ideas. At the same time, you can have a lot of roadblocks. In a team, you could have roadblocks. And again, this is something which I've taken it from the 6 Thinking Hats. So if anybody here read the book, the 6 Thinking Hats, or maybe attended a program on 6 Thinking Hats, so you understand how the team comes to a consensus or a conclusion or a solution. You know, you wear a red hat, you wear a black hat, then you wear a white hat, you work a blue hat again. Maybe one of the days we'll take up that whole book itself. So this is what it focuses in terms of working with the team, where you collaborate with peers, supervisors within the organization, enhance everybody's thinking power, clears the confusion. One of the best advice that I could look at is entering the meeting rooms without a cell phone, and second, without any chairs. Trust me, with the teams that I have worked with in my lifetime, it has worked magic. We enter the room with only a pen and a paper, no phone calls, like no phones, and no chairs. Because the moment we sit, we become comfortable, and then chai ka bar hai, coffee ka bar hai, snacks hai ki nahi. So all that gets in. Even while you're doing this at home, it's a good practice to simply stand up, discuss, and get the maximum out in the minimal possible time. So that's what it primarily talks about. Third one, important one, one of the most crucial ones. How do you use your digital tools and how do you avoid social media? He talks about actually eliminating social media, and his TED video, he says that he is not on any of the social media. And trust me, when he said that, search him anywhere, you will not find. You will have his fan page, you will have this, that. You will not find Cal Newport as a guy with a blue tick on Twitter. You will not find him on any other platforms. LinkedIn, there is one, but I'm not too sure if this is his account. What he says is to avoid social media, and talks about 2 approaches: the any benefit approach and the craftsman approach. And whichever tool that suits you, you can utilize that. Trust me, I am not going to explain this any benefit approach and the craftsman approach, irrespective of how many times you ask me. I want you to pick up the book and read this. I am sure when you call me back again, you will either say this guy is a genius or he's mad, because I read this 3 or 4 times and I fell in love with this guy, with the approach that he talks about. And to this extent today, a lot of my desk right now is much, much cleaner as compared to what it was. Identify the tools, the benefits that you have, and understand the difference between the positive and the negative impacts on the personal as well as in a professional life. So identify the goal which is aligned to your mission or to the organization's mission, and objectives which are coupled with the project's goal. Study and enlist activities and tasks to be executed to achieve the goals. And the next one is to act, and to big act. The next important big act: select the right online and digital tools which will help you achieve the right kind of value-added activities. So strike out the tools which would bring out any kind of negative impacts on achieving the goal. Right? Judge the impact of the digital tools on the efficiency factor and productivity quotient. And does it bring any substantial changes in the regular day-to-day functioning and increase your credentials? If this works, then go ahead, install, implement them fast in your laptops or computers or mobile devices. Leverage the features, increase the productivity. So basically here he's talking about a few digital tools that can be used. Of course, for every digital platform that we have, for example, Canva. Now there are 100 of alternatives for Canva. So is the Canva Premium a worth it option? Is something where you will understand this when you're using the any benefit approach or the craftsman approach. The second element he talks about is the digital clutter. After I read the book, I have deleted Twitter from my phone. I have put my Facebook on a disable mode on my phone. And the only app that I have in terms of social media right now on my this one is the Clubhouse and LinkedIn. Everything else is, somewhere in the backyard, or it's deleted on that one. My computers has absolutely no shortcuts right now as we speak. So I had a shortcut for everything. For WhatsApp, I had a shortcut. I had a shortcut for Clubhouse, not Clubhouse, sorry. I had a shortcut for Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. All cleaned. Kept all the distractions away as much as possible. Notifications for almost 80% app is reduced now. And the reason to do this is, and if you pick up the book, The Power of Habit also, it talks about the same element, that we are not really interested in what is the message. That notification sound itself is a trigger. It's like a dopamine shot that you get. So somebody, clicks, look at us. I mean, each one of us is a victim of this one. You put something on Instagram after a long time, or Facebook, or anywhere. After a few minutes, you go and check again and again. Imagine you post a Facebook photograph, and for about an hour, there is not a single like on your Facebook, even when you have 1,000 friends. Yeah, I know how that feels. The moment we had that first click or notification, Bhavesh liked your photograph, Kavita liked your photograph, that's the dopamine shot that comes in. And we not really, after I see the notification, I know, okay, Bhavesh has liked it, Kavita has liked it, not a big deal. But when you remove this notification, you're taking charge of how do you really want to spend this time. There are n number of activities which, trust me, each one of us has been doing for a long time, until Netflix came and changed a lot of things, the way we look at entertainment also. But today, and attention span has reduced to 7 seconds, is primarily because of the this dopamine shot comes in. Carl in the book also talks about organizations hiring attention managers. There's a specific post called as attention managers, and the role of this guy is to only create content, or create these platforms which will grab people's attention. Right? So if you see this news headline also on YouTube, etc., sometime, they're very catchy. Sometimes feel like open karenge nahi kare. Kya Priyanka Chopra, and then there will be some rubbish statement, and there's a question mark towards it. And then there will be something related to either Bollywood, politics, or something like that. So he talks about using this time to cultivate habits which will help us relax mentally. The core idea that he's trying to spread throughout the book is, if you want to focus on deep work, you have to take care of your physical health as well as your mental health. You cannot get into deep work if you have not taken enough rest. And something that even Sadhguru talks about, somebody who sleeps for 4 hours and then says, I meditate for 2 hours in a day and I'm balanced it out, is a fool. Because meditation is not a substitute for less sleep. If your body demands a 6 hours of sleep or an 8 hours of sleep, you will have to complete it. That 2 hours of meditation for somebody who sleeps less is as good as drinking a green tea without hitting the gym. It doesn't work, right? So that's an area, it talks about. You can get into either some kind of sports, get into hiking, trekking, learn music, something which is vocal, read books, or socialize with family and friends. The next element, the third element, is the reducing shallow work. Reduce the task which is of least importance. Sometimes you have to do it, but see if you can find a way to reduce them. See if there is a way you can do this task, while accumulating it with some music or something going in the background, where you don't have to pay or utilize much of your brain power. So even when you're working from home, you can do it. So while taking a child's, you're taking a kid's homework, there is some area you can take care of that. While discussing something with your life partner, or something which is of not really important also, you can finalize those things while doing those tasks. Now, coming to the key strategies that needs to be adopted at a personal and professional level both. The first thing is to assign and estimate the number of hours that you would require for each of the activities. Again, going back to the holistic approach, the journalist approach, figure out your calendar. Figure out your calendar and see how this can help in terms of your overall schedule throughout the day. Keep a provision for certain activities, right? You can use the grading system. This can be done for personal as well as for official level. For every task that you have written on your sheet, write a grade against it and based it on importance, like how we had discussed the important and urgent matrix. So give it a grade, put up the assigned task and see at the end of the day, how much have you scored overall? So while there would be chances that you would focus a lot on shallow work, give yourself a grade at the end of the day, you will figure out where you're standing. So this can work in your favor. So to determine these grades, figure out, as I said, how much of the task requires how much of attention, how much of dedication, how much time have you actually spent, and how this will benefit you. As a manager or as a leader that you're leading a team, based on your team's productivity, teams working based on where they are placed, it may be a little difficult in the start. Maybe sometimes you'll have a wrong judgment, but over a period of time with regular practice, regular interactions, it will help out. And in case you find yourself in that situation as a professional, it's advisable to educate people on what you're really doing, how the criteria is set, and how do you mutually decide and finalize the time that you need to spend on this task. As I mentioned earlier, provide enough time for your brain to rest. Like Carl himself talks about his schedule where he winds up at 5:30 in the evening. I know virtually, and in the kind of lifestyle that we are today, it's virtually impossible for us to wind up by 5:30, 6:30, 7:30 also. But whatever time you wind up, make it a habit that once you close for the day. The rest is as important as much as the task is. A simple example is you can't drive your car without servicing it at regular intervals. That's the same thing applies to us also, because over a period of time, and which is happening right now also, a lot of people are seriously affected with brain fatigue. People are frustrated simply because they're spending too much hours in front of systems, too much of time on phone calls, handling too many things. They may think that right now is the need, otherwise job chala jayega, this will happen, that will happen. But in the long run, this is going to be absolutely dangerous. So limit your working time to as much as 8-9 hours. Fix the starting time and end time early. Communicate the same to your supervisor. Maybe, take in buy-in right now. Tell them that you're experimenting something that you learned from this book. And for the next 1 month, I'm going to be doing this. Let's see the impact. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to my regular routine. Something that you can negotiate, something that can work between you and your manager. Invest your time wisely. Fix the working hours. If you fix the working hours, it will help you. First thing is to relieve the mental stress. And trust me, a calm mind can have brilliant ideas and higher productivity. That is the reason why they say 20% of your task gives you 80% of the outcome. It's no rocket science. This 20% tasks are something which are extremely high valuable, and it is done when our energy is at the peak time. So even during the working hours, invest your time and effort and eliminate shallow work as much as possible during that crucial timings. One of the key strategies again here is, if you are somebody who has a notification of emails on your phone, like work emails, advisable to remove it and just keep it on the system. And again, you don't have to go back to your email again and again after 5 minutes, 10 minutes to check, if somebody's replied or something, this, etc. If it's urgent, people will call you. At least email, chat messages gives us an opportunity or liberty to reply late. So if people are really busy and something's really urgent, they will call up. So utilize that time. And obviously some critical messages, emails has to be answered, but others can still wait for response. So figure out which ones are important and figure out what to do next. Now, a quick recap on what we just discussed. The screen is in front of you. I'm going to take a quick sip and a quick 30 seconds break while you look at this image. This image is taken from the learningfundamentals.com, Australia. It's not my copyright, copyrighted by the Learning Fundamentals itself. We're using this image as a recap of today's session. So manage your workspace, take a digital technical detox, help for addicts. You can have a right room for yourself. Lock yourself out of the internet. Take time to reflect. What did I do, etc. So that's what this book is all about. I really thank everybody's patience. I knew the book is going to be more than 30 minutes today, more than 20 minutes, but I really thank everybody's patience. I am happy to discuss anything or any question that you all have. I highly recommend this book to each one of you. Please pick it up on Amazon or buy it a paperback. Please read it. Please apply it. This book is magic when it comes to productivity. So enjoy the book, and I'm happy to hear the feedback. If anybody want to share a feedback or any questions, the forum is now open, and please advise of the next book also that we should take up. Again, the September contest is open. We will announce a new contest for October. The September contest is very simple. Pick up a book, come here, read it, share it with others. We will have a poll at the end of the month, in the last week of the month. And the one with the maximum votes will take away the prize. And the prize is Amazon 2,000 rupees voucher, which you can use for Dussehra or Diwali, and a certificate of being the first best storyteller of the Readers Club. The forum is now open, guys. Over to you all.
Hey, this is Neil here.
Yes, Neil.
Hi, this session was lovely because generally we do read like the book summary synopsis, but when there is a person and a different group, then it makes more sense, because even though I have read this book, I have learned something new in terms of how you have explained to implement these things. So sometimes we just read, but we don't understand it from a different perspective. So that really, is the good thing about having these discussions. So this was my first session, but it's really nice.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having you here. Looking forward for you to attend a lot of sessions like this as we progress. Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks.
All right, members, please suggest, advise, any feedback. I should speak less the next time. I know it's an old habit, doesn't die hard. Can't help it. Yes, Purvi, we do these sessions every week. Saturday, 7 p.m. is a fixed time. The Zoom links remain the same. For the Clubhouse, I create one every week. Not too tech savvy. Meir is helping me with the Clubhouse thing so far. But yes, every Saturday, 7 p.m. If you are a part of the WhatsApp group, you will see the notifications there. If you're not, we highly recommend you to be there so we can have a lot of discussions around. Every Saturday, 7 p.m. by default, we connect here. And next week is going to be Kavita, as she said right now. She's already.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is. So Kavita is going to be reading the next book. What's the book name?
Okay, that's great. We can ask if someone is interested in reading any book for next week. There are 11 participants here. I mean, this is you can ask Praddeep. If someone else is reading, I
was looking that Shreya would share soon, but you know
what?
Yeah,
exactly. Shreya.
I'm going to stop the recording first.
I'm feeling prepared, and please do.